So in our last course, we learned about sound production. We had different exercises that would help you along with the major scale to begin to produce sound, to know how to assemble your instrument, all the basics of that, all those kind of things and things of that nature. So today what we want to do, we want to get right into scales again, the major scale. So far all you've learned with me is the G major scale. So what I want to do now is I want to take you back to the C major scale. But why would I want to take you to the C major scale? Well, you can't really see my screen over here in the corner, but there's a thing called the circle of fifths. And if you look at the circle of fifths, C is the first scale that you start with. And one reason why is because there's no sharps, no flats. To sharp a note means to raise the pitch. To flat a note means to lower a pitch. So depending on where you're coming from, if you're descending, you would be kind of flatting notes, and if you're ascending, you'll be making notes sharp. But in my vein of things, most time I play by ear and I'm not looking at music, so I tend to call notes what I would prefer to call them. So for example, between C and D, that note could be called C sharp, but it could also be called D flat, because if you're descending from D and you go down chromatically means note, every note in order, it would be a D flat. If I was coming up from C, it would be C sharp. But in our vein, you may hear me say C sharp. You may see me say A flat a lot. But for the purposes of teaching for now, because some of that stuff will come into play more when we get to some more complicated things. For now, I want to show you an easy way to remember some of your scales. So I want to give you a few scales. I'm not going to go through all the scales. Now, when I do my live classes, I may do that there. But as far as this class, I don't really want to do that at this point in time. So we're going to start with C major. And why would we start with C major? Well, C has, again, no sharps, no flats. So that means we can literally, we know that there's the notes that we use in music are from A to G, right? So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and everything starts all over again. Okay, so if we're in the key of C, then we say our alphabets in order from C up to G, and then we start back over till we get to that next C. You got it? So if we're in the key of C, we go C, D, E, F, G. Okay, we didn't go A, B, C because we're in the key of C, so we start with that note. So C, D, E, F, G, and then since we're at the end of our alphabet, our musical alphabet, we start over again. So we have A, B, C. So on the saxophone, I want to show you two ways to play the C major scale. Matter of fact, I'm going to start with the first one because you probably can hit this one a little easier because sometimes the lower notes tend to get a little bit hard. You have C, then you have D, you have E. Now, when we play C, we're not using the octave key for this particular one. We're going C, this is just regular middle C. Then we're grabbing the octave key. Again, for those of you who may have forgotten, the octave key is this little button back here where your thumb at rest is. When you push that down, we use that to hit higher notes for the most part. So you got C, no octave key. You have D, which we learned in the last video, where we have all 6 of these keys pushed down with the octave key. That's D, right? We lift up our finger, we get E. Since we're in the key of C major, there's no sharps, there's no flats. We lift up one more finger, bam, we're right at F. Okay, we keep on going up. We lift this finger. Now we have G. So only the top 3 fingers are being held down. We lift up another finger. We have A. And we're still holding the octave key. So once we get past C and we hit that D, we hold the octave key for all of these. So there's A, and then we get B, and we're back up to C. Now, if you think about it, you really didn't have to learn too many different notes because you already knew C from the last video. You already knew B from the last video. You knew A from the last video, my last course. And you learned G from my last course because we learned the G major scale. We even learned D. We even learned E. We learned F sharp there though, but we're using F natural. So F natural is about the only thing you didn't know, right? Now, why do I say that you knew it already? Because when we got back up to G, to A, to B, and to C, we just held the octave key, but it was literally the same fingering. Only thing we added was the octave key. Now I'm going to play that C major scale in that register for you. So this time, I want you to play it with me, but we're just going to do it. We're going to do it in half notes. So here's the count. 1, 2, next note, 1, 2, or we can go 1, 2, D, 3, 4, E, you know, and so on and so forth. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so that was C major ascending. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to bring it down, but when you get ready to practice that, you're going to need to kind of do it the same way back down. One good way to practice it is to practice it up and down. And for the sake of time, I'll just do it quickly just so you can hear it. You want to know how to be able to do it both ways, going ascending and descending. Now, the next scale that I want to go ahead and throw your way, and again, if I'm moving too fast, rewind. You have the video on demand. You can rewind and catch this. All right, so the next scale that we're going to learn is going to be G. For those who took the course 1, this is just a review for you because you learned G in the last course. So I don't want to take a long time, but when we play scales, you know, at this point, you know what they sound like. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You already know that. You got that in your head. You know that's what it sounds like. If something doesn't sound like that, you know that it's wrong, right? So we're looking for the same sound, but different notes, right? So we're in the key of G. All our notes are going to be the same as C except one. What is that going to be that's going to be different? It's going to be F sharp. We take the F out when we're in the key of G. So you have all the same notes. So imagine that you didn't start at C in C major, but you started on G. Okay? G is still G. A is still A. B is still B. C is still C. D is still D. E is still E, but there's no F. Now we have F sharp. And then we're back to G. So the only thing that's different, or as some people would say trying to be funny, the only thing that's different is that you have no F, but you have F sharp from C. So that's an easy way to remember it. C has no sharps, no flats. G has one sharp. So let's play that G major scale, and I'm gonna do it in half steps. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have G major, we have C major knocked down. Now we know two scales. We know C major, we know G major. Now we're gonna jump to the key of D. Why are we jumping to the key of D? Because again, we're only changing these scales. We're altering them by one note so they're more easy to remember and they won't throw you for a loop so much, because these scales tend to get harder with the more sharps and flats that they have. I remember when I first was learning them, and I was happy playing in C and B just trying to get good, and then when I had to learn how to play in F sharp and B and C sharp, and I was like, oh boy, why would anybody want to play in these keys? But you know, there's more colors, there's more things to do, and so you want to be versatile so you can be able to do these things. So key of D, all the notes are the same. That was now in the key of G. You follow me? So from C to G, we had something that altered. We had one sharp that joined that number of notes, right? So now we're building upon G to build D. So we're not thinking about C anymore, no sharps, no flats, because once we left C and went to G, the game changed. We're now entered into the world of sharps, right? So we have G sharp, we have F sharp that was in all of our regular notes that we saw in C. Now the difference between G and D is we have all the same notes that we saw in G, meaning G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. We're now going to see those same notes plus one more. And that one more note is going to be C sharp. Okay? So how do you play C sharp? You play C like this, but in order to play C sharp, so to play C sharp, you literally play nothing. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to start on D, and we're going to go all the way up. D. Now we're going to play this one without the octave key. We're going to go D, then we're going to lift the finger. We have E. We're going to lift the finger. We have F sharp. We're going to lift the finger. We have G. We're going to lift the finger. We have A. We're going to lift the finger. We have B. We're going to lift the finger. We have C sharp. And then we're going to touch the octave key, and we're going to have our D. Okay? So now I'm going to play it for you. This time you play it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4 half notes. Okay, so now we have the key of D under our belts now. We have arrived to understanding 3 keys. Now, I kind of got a little ahead of myself, and when it came to the first scale, I forgot to take it to the next octave. I told you I was going to show you 2 ways to play C. So we learned C to C from the middle C up to the high C, but we didn't learn low C. So let's get to learning low C. Low C, you see this little button over here we can hit with our pinky, the bottom one on the side. So you have all of your fingers held down, and then you don't hit the top one, but you hit the bottom one here. Together that makes C. It's probably going to be hard for beginners. Those of you who may have been playing, you may already know how to do it. But one of the best things to do is just pop it out. Don't try to be pretty with it. You know, if you got to make it sound rough like that, just get it out. But we're aiming for that. We're aiming for that next, okay? So we're going to start from that C. You already know D. We're just going to do the regular D we've been doing without the octave key. And we're going to do the regular E we've been doing without the octave key. F without the octave key. G without the octave key. A, no octave key. B, no octave key. C, no octave key. You know, then we're there. But once we start doing the other one that we learned first, remember, once we get past C, we must use the octave key. So this is what it sounds like in half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this time you play 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to move to the key of G. Same thing. Play with me. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. And now we're going to move last to the key of D. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. So your practice goal is to learn to not only play these, but memorize these 3 scales. And I want you to be able to play them without thought. So you got to get this muscle memory going on. That means you got to play them millions of times. So if you have to write them down, look at them at first, fine. But the goal is not to have to keep looking at it, because if you're going to be able to be smooth and express what's in the soul and the heart, you have to get things in your brain, and you have to get things in your fingers so you can express what's within. But as long as you're still thinking too much, you can't really express. So we need to get these under our belt. Now in the future, we're going to definitely need to learn more scales, because there's more to learn. But there's a lot you can do with these basics in every key if you learn these. So work on your scales. Let's get ready for the next video.